All right, now we're live. Good morning, Daniel. How you doing?
Good morning, sir. Good. How are
All
you?
right. Yeah, it's good. It's good. So we're on the opposite ends of the states, right? So you're out in Georgia. We're
I
out here in
am. Yeah, and
California.
I
We are
heard it's
in the middle of a heat wave. I don't know what you guys always have a heat wave out there, but you got this muggy heatness that goes along with it. We're pretty hot out here in California right now, so it's been a hot one. So I'm sure it's the same out there. Correct? You guys getting any rain or anything like that out there?
yeah, it's been storming the last few days. I think it's actually hotter where you're at than it is down here right now. So it doesn't happen too often.
That's right. Looks like we've already got quite a few people on. It was JD's on and saying hi to you.
What's up, JD?
And so got quite a few people already listening. So before we get going, let me introduce you. This is Daniel Pierson, Clay Pierson's oldest boy, and I've known him since he was, I don't know, since were you born when I first got to see you, or were you born too? I know that.
I know you knew my parents before I was born, of course, but I'm sure you met me as a
Yeah,
baby.
yeah. So which is unique is that your brother and my son Daniel, and your brother David have the same birthday, right? They share a birthday, and so I do remember when he was definitely when he was born, and I remember when you lost your one brother too. So it's been a roller coaster, but that's how we met. And so now I get to talk to Daniel as a young man. I was looking forward to this. I was telling you right before we came live is I always look forward. How old are you now, Daniel?
26.
You're 26. So Michael just turned 30.
Wow.
And so now, kids that I've known in the martial arts since you've grown up, and now you guys are married, young with, starting a life of your own with your own wives. And now I get to kind of talk to you guys about, what you grew up in as a young guy and get your perspective now as you have your own schools. So this is, so with no further ado, Daniel, I'm going to go ahead and let you take over the mic for a second. Why don't you introduce yourself, where the school is you do, and where you live, and et cetera, and your wife's name.
Well, yeah, thank you, sir. So, yeah, my name is Daniel Pierson, as you mentioned, and I have been training in the martial arts since I was about 3 years old. I'm sure I got into it a little bit earlier, just watching it and trying to emulate what I saw the people around me do. But for most of my life, my parents have run a martial arts school, and I've never stopped training since I began. I've always enjoyed it, and even when I was younger and was just on the mat because I was at the school, I always had fun on the mat. I never pictured myself running a martial arts school when I got older, but I think sometimes your destiny chooses you, I guess, and I definitely have got a lot of joy from being able to share what I've learned through the martial arts. And it's been an awesome journey. I've got to meet a lot of great people along the way. So I've been married for about 2 years now. It'll be 2 years this month, and my wife's name is Katie Pierson. And it's definitely been a change in the lifestyle a little bit, but it's been a great ride so far. And yeah, I'm fortunate to have a strong family, a strong support system, and we have a lot of great families within our schools that we've grown close with over the years down here in Georgia.
Yeah, that's good. It's good. Life of a martial arts school owner is taxing on a marriage for sure. I tell every person that's going to do that know what you're getting into. Make sure your wife is on board, and because we work when everybody else is getting off work, it's just kind of the
Right.
way it stumbles. So this is what I want to get into real quick. Just want to talk about that a little quick because you mentioned something right before we went live, and you talked about how you much more appreciate the martial arts today, and you were kind of forced to do it back in the day. Let's talk about that a little bit, what that looks like as a young guy.
Well, I guess I wouldn't say I was forced. My parents always gave me the choice to not participate in class when I was there. But I was just in the martial arts environment for my entire life, everything that I can remember at least. And at first, it was something that I just did for fun. I just did when I was there. But I think when I turned about 14 or 15, I started to take it a little bit more seriously. And by that point, I was already a second degree black belt, so I was already assisting on the mat, and I was involved in the instruction part. But I think that the real benefit that I have gained from martial arts is perspective and mindset. I feel like training in martial arts has really molded my mind in a whole different way than, even my education in school. And that I think is what I'm most grateful for. The self-defense part is awesome and so necessary. I think everybody needs it. But the mental aspect of martial arts is what's really helped me the most.
So, you know, Daniel, as you kind of grew up in a stage where, so I trained your dad, and I was, your dad back in the day, he was a force to be reckoned with on the mat. Matter of fact, I was probably one of the only ones that could even fight your father back in the day. You know what I mean? He was as a young guy, he was, well, you probably got knocked out by him.
He's a little bit
Yeah,
heavy-handed.
yeah, he's a little bit heavy-handed, but he's always in control. At least is what he says.
Mhm.
Um, so you grew up in a very different martial arts. I want to get your perspective on what it was like as a kid being underneath somebody like your father and myself. I mean, we were, I say stuff about your dad, but I was a pretty hardcore instructor myself, and I'm pretty no nonsense, and you'll probably even get it today. You know what I mean? And so, I expect a certain decorum. When when it comes to martial arts and the loyalty and respect thing. What was it like as a kid being underneath men such as myself and your father? What did that look to you? Was it a fear thing? Was it tell me your perspective. I'd like to know that.
I don't think it was ever a fear thing. I guess the way I was raised, we had a lot of structure, and martial arts was definitely a part of that. But being around people like you and my father at a young age, it gave me something to look up to, something like to try and accomplish, right? So, I always enjoyed when, like, if you would come to town, come to Georgia, I always enjoyed going out to dinner and spending time with you when you were in town because, I always looked up to you and to what you had accomplished, and not just in the martial arts, but, your strong mindset. And, I think that the loyalty and the respect in martial arts, it is somewhat traditional, but I think it's important. And I think that too often these days we kind of throw tradition to the wind, but the structure and the hierarchy in place is there for a reason. And I think like it has definitely it's definitely helped me. It's been a good thing in my life. Some people don't respond well to that pressure. They shut down when there's strong authority, but I don't have that experience. I kind of have learned to understand how to properly carry myself in that environment, and it's helped me in the world too, not just in martial arts.
So let me ask you this. Now you're running your own school now, right? And I don't know. I'm sure you didn't think about that's what you were going to do when you were younger. And I'm not really sure how it came about. Was there a decision to be made? Hey, we have this other opportunity, and if we're going to take the opportunity, down, you're going to need to step up, and you're going to have to be the one that runs the school. Was that pretty much how it went down?
Yeah, at the time, I was working multiple jobs. I think I was working 3 jobs at the time, and I was teaching in Statesboro a few days a week, but I wasn't plugged in and helping like the day-to-day operations in the school. And I ended up teaching a summer camp for the Bryan County school system in Richmond Hill. And after I did the summer camp, the kids kept asking me like how they could progress, how they could continue in martial arts, and there were a few schools around in the area, but there wasn't any program that had a serious self-defense outlook. And it was like ATA schools in the area, and I think there was some BJJ, but there was nothing really to help the kids learn real self-defense. And we had parents contacting us and asking us where they could continue training. We had always, talked about the idea of opening up a second location, but originally I wasn't going to be the one to run it. And over time, I just decided that instead of wasting my time working for someone else and having to change like who I am to work under somebody, I felt like even if it was risky for me to go out on my own and open up the karate school, I felt more comfortable doing that than just working a normal job. And there's definitely sacrifices that are made when you're running a business, and I didn't really understand that when I stepped into it, but
Mhm.
it's helped me to really grow into a better person. I feel like business, just like martial arts, there's growth that comes from it, and it helps you to accomplish more in the future.
Right. Well, I think you have a better appreciation for what, we do as, as entrepreneurs. I agree with you 100%, and I've told my own children this, and I stand by this today. If you have an employee's mindset, that's exactly what you're going to be as an employee. If you have an owner's mindset, it's a different ball game altogether. And though you don't have the pressures, you also don't have the freedoms. I laugh about it quite often. I tell everybody I'll work 60 hours a week so I don't have to work a 9 to 5. And, that's just been just what I do for as long as I can remember. I've always been kind of an entrepreneur minded guy that, I want to be able to I want to be the boss. I guess that's more like what it is. I want to be the leader, and I want to be able to produce leaders. And that's where I'm at in my life at this particular cycle, is watching all you guys. Kind of, you would be a great grandfather of, I'm grandpa to your dad, and I'm great grandpa to your students, right? So as I watch, last time I was there, I was watching you. Dad wasn't there, and he had to leave. He had to leave on an airplane, and so I saw you step up to the plate and do the tying on belts and tying on the students' belts there. And as you continue adding on, and dad was able to leave you in, and and knowing that he had a capable son that's going to be able to tie belts on and stuff like that. So it's been an awesome thing to watch you progress into your own school owner, your own man, and stuff like that. I've always, you don't get to hear me so much give you so many compliments, because I'm not, you know how it is. I mean, if you get a compliment from me, it's pretty well earned. It's not, I don't give them out too much. You know what I mean?
Yes, sir.
And and I think that's what the segue that I want uh, to talk about, right? And this is another, somebody here, blessings, brother. So glad to be connected to you all. This is young Arthur Smith. You can say hi to him. So let me ask you this. So what I want to know, I want to have some real talk on about what you saw in a martial arts school that you said, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to follow. This is what I want to change. What did you see? And I'll tell you one thing that I'll tell you that what Michael came to me and talked to me about one time, and then I want you to be super real on what, because I like to hear you guys, young guys' perspective on it, on what it is. So Michael came to me one time and goes, look, Dad, I've watched you do this martial arts thing my whole life, and I've seen it, just the hours that you spend doing this. I want to have run the school and do what you do, but I also want a life with my wife. I want a vacation. And because we didn't do a lot of vacations, being a single dad and stuff like that, and me having to take care of all the kids and Bo and everybody else, it wasn't vacation time for me. And anytime I go on vacation, even when I go out there, you guys, I'm usually working, right? So I'll be a week out in Georgia, but 2 or 3 of the days are me doing seminars and working. And so this has just been me. And this is one thing he said. He goes, I do not want that for me. I want to be able to have a vacation and have these downtimes, but I want to have this successful business. This was a real talk that he had with me one time. And so give me your perspective on what you saw growing up, what you took good from what you saw, and what you wanted to change in your own school, or what you have done different than Dad or I.
So I guess growing up, my experience was very similar to Michael's. My parents were always in the karate school, and my dad more so than my mom. My dad was always working, and it was great to be there together with him most of the time when he was working. But it definitely takes a lot of your attention. And I think when you have a certain personality type, like you and my father both are very driven and focused. And I think you tend to hyper focus on the thing of most importance, right? So the business takes charge, and that not saying that everything else falls to the wayside, but everything gets structured around the business. And there were times when I was growing up where I hated the fact that my dad didn't work a normal job because my schedule wasn't the same as my friends or whatever, or I couldn't do some extracurriculars at school sometimes. But I realized that that time that we got together when my parents had me at the karate school, that's not time that I would really ever get in a normal situation with my family. I wouldn't be able to go to work with my dad when he was there for hours and hours a day. So what I maybe thought was an inconvenience when I was younger, or something that stopped me from doing what I wanted, really turned into me understanding that that time was with my family was something that I wouldn't ever get again in the same way. And I definitely, opening up my own school, I definitely wanted to have more balance in my life about the time spent focused on the business. But at a certain point, you have to focus on the business and build it, right? So you can't always have that perfect balance where you have your work time and your time at home with your family. And I think running a business, you have to make the hard decisions sometimes to focus on that instead of going out to eat with your friends or going on vacation. So yeah, I agree with Michael. That's something that I wanted, but now doing it myself, I kind of understand the importance of having your attention and focus on it when you need to.
How'd your wife come on board with you on that? How did that discussion go? So you could, you know, because I know the ins and outs of, I've been doing this is my 33 years now or something to that effect of having a school. And I know that, I tell everybody that, you can, your studio can become your wife if you're not careful. You know what I mean? And where you spend your time. So how did you guys manage that as a young couple? How are you managing that now? How can you help somebody else that's in a young couple with that?
Well, one thing that has been, beneficial to me in some ways is that my school is not in the town that I live in, so I have to travel to it and dedicate a block of time, no matter what. And there's always things that I can do when I'm not there in the school, but it's driving to Richmond Hill to go teach. There is a little bit of a separation because I won't just go, into the karate school to handle stuff online or print stuff out. That's all stuff that has to be done at my house or at the school in Statesboro. So that's helped me with a little bit of separation. But as even when my wife and I were dating, I was spending a lot of time teaching, and I was spending a lot of time on the mat. So she kind of came into our relationship understanding what my structure and my schedule was. And she's been great. She doesn't complain too much about me getting home at 11, 12 o'clock most of the week. And she's kind of changed her schedule to deal with it. But it definitely put stress on our relationship after we were first married, because we went on our honeymoon, and when we came back, it was like right back into work mode. We didn't get the same amount of time together. So we really have to structure our schedules almost to make sure that we are able to spend the right amount of time together. But she's been a champ dealing with it so far. She hasn't given me too much about it.
That's good. Well, I think it's definitely something that's important. Anytime I speak to anybody opening up a school, that's the first thing I said. We're not having a meeting unless, if you're married, your wife has to be at the meeting so she can hear what I have to say as far as what's the sacrifices of what's going to happen. So, TJ, you're asking if the connection issues are good. We're pretty clear here, TJ. It must be something on your end, just to let you know. But so when how tough are you on your own students? Do you find yourself being emulating us at all, or do you find that you found a different way that you feel works? You're a little bit. I don't know. You remind me a little bit of Mike a little bit. You're a little more laid back. You know what I mean? And Mikey, you know how he is. He just you know I'm just chilling, Dad. It's all good. You know what I mean? So Is that something that's just been naturally in your personality? Have you seen it work? And how do your students respond to your dad when he's there? Or, I don't know. They don't know much about me. I haven't been to the school ever to do like a seminar at your school. So what is their perception of your students' perceptions of what's going on?
I try to, take it on a student by student basis because all of these kids and even the adults, they all have different personality types. And something that, I had a hard time with when I first started teaching. When I first started, you come in and you try to almost force everybody to fall in line because you're trying to, claim your authority. And I had an issue with that. I shut down students. There were plenty of times where I made people mad and, almost drove them away from the martial arts because I didn't respond right. But I think you have to have that strict enforcement on the mat a lot of the times, especially in the kids' classes. So I try to kind of judge their personality type. And usually after they've been on the mat for a little while, I know exactly how I'm supposed to deal with them to kind of get the right response. But I feel like you have to be strict when it comes to certain things in the martial arts because you don't really get to pass on the knowledge without the basics being right or without their mindset being right when they're receiving that information. So I've tried to be as balanced as possible in my approach. I'm definitely not perfect. Sometimes I come on too strong, but I've picked up a lot of the stuff that I've heard on the mat, and even the mannerisms from you, my father, and from other instructors. So I'd say my personality is definitely a little bit more laid back, but on the mat it's different because I have a responsibility to make sure that they get the most out of each class, and I feel like I can't let my personality get in the way of that.
Well, let's talk about your leadership now. So, where are you in your school now? You're producing black belts. Are you producing black belts that are under you now that are actually working at the studio? What's your leadership looking like now? I've went from school owner to instructor to the leader, producing black belts, and because I tell all school owners you should be developing every black belt into a leader and into an instructor of some sort. That's where they should be. That's how you're going to maintain them, and that's how their real growth is going to be. Is to be that force to be reckoned with on the mat because it sharpens their skills. I'm sure you'll agree that 90% of what you'll retain 90% of what you teach. You start teaching things, and all of a sudden things become easier and they become you remember them and they're not, and this is the next step of being a black belt, but it is the next step of being a leader. So tell me about your leadership and what you're doing now to bring others up underneath you and help them to be teachers. How's that look?
Well, I always try to communicate to my students that if you are able to step in and teach a technique, or even if you're just helping in class and you're explaining something to a lower rank, it helps you understand the concept in a different way. So I feel like you can never really understand the intricate details of a lot of these techniques and movements without teaching it because it forces you to break it down differently. So I always am encouraging my higher ranking students to assist. But I think I'm not sure if you do this in your school. I know you do the count offs for black belt testing, but when we get to black belt testing in our school, we make them teach a certain amount of classes or assist in a certain amount of classes to make sure that they have experience giving back and time put out on the mat. Not all of the students have the personality that likes to be out there in the front teaching class, but I think it's important for them to have that experience, even if it makes them uncomfortable. I think you almost have to be uncomfortable to grow sometimes. And I've seen, for instance, I have a black belt that teaches for me. Her name's Alexis, and she's very shy, and that's just her personality. She's not loud and outspoken unless she's comfortable around you, comfortable in situation. But I've seen her recently just go from somebody who almost was apologizing for teaching on the mat, didn't want to be the forefront of attention, to now
Mm-hmm.
she's loud able to run a group, and she hasn't been instructing for very long. So it's cool to see that transformation. I've had Chris Bolin working with me a lot in my school, and at first, Chris doesn't have the personality where he likes to be loud. He's very soft spoken, and it took him a long time to come to terms with having to raise his voice and use vocal inflection to get control of the class. But just seeing the confidence grow from that, and seeing the difference in how he can communicate information when he's running class that way now has been really cool. I have two adult black belts that do teach for me, and the rest of my black belts are juniors. So they assist on the mat, but they don't ever run class, the whole class. And they've all been doing a great job. I think they've been assisting since they were green belts. All of them have. And, I think that it's really important to have to teach when you're a black belt, because it gives you something to, I don't know, it makes you hungry again. You start to realize you don't understand everything as well as you thought you did. The muscle memory is not enough anymore. And so I think that it's just valuable as a martial artist to communicate these skills.
I agree. So you're really good analogies there. Listening to your verbiage and being, I speak about this all the time. You have to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, and that's not just on teaching. Now, that's in the martial arts period. And if you're doing jujitsu and you are wrapped up and you feel claustrophobic and someone's on top of you and you have to weather a storm, and you have to figure out, and you have to you have to figure out this puzzle, and how am I going to get out? This is the same type of things in leadership period. Whether they do it in front of a whole class, they do it one-on-one. And when you have to be in an uncomfortable situation, you got to start being comfortable with the uncomfortable. And that's going to lead to when you going to, I tell the students this quite often, winning is special. Okay. It's not an everyday thing, and you're not going to win every day. You're not going to win teaching every day, and you're not going to win in your martial arts every day. Your growth comes from failure. Your spirit to continue comes from your wins, because you got to have some wins if you want to continue, right? You can't just fail every single day, and not have a win here and there. I don't really care what the win is. Okay, maybe I broke a board today, and I haven't been able to do that ever. That type of thing. So building confidence and having self-confidence, standing tall and looking straight ahead, all these little things that we teach kids. This is a really good analogy of what you put out there. So I'm pretty stoked on listening to how your leadership is developing. And you're not a father yet. Now you have a whole new ball game coming when you become a dad, because I remember I was about your age, but I was a knothead at your age. At 26, I was on my own and stuff like that, but I didn't really, I'm kind of, in between what I'm trying to do with my life and stuff like that. And the school comes along, and I was forced, right? It was either I got laid off from something, and it's either I had to go find a job or I had to go find a life, you know what I mean? And so I went and chose life, right? And went after this martial arts school thing, and I needed a coach, and I needed a mentor that's going to help me 6 months into it. I talk about this quite often. So as a leader, I'm listening to what you're having to say, putting people in uncomfortable situations and bringing them out of their shell there's nothing better than that as far as martial arts goes. You're going to see that pay dividends in the future on what you're doing. So Dan, I think that's a really good analogy. I'm glad to hear what you're saying. Now, we've been dropping leadership stuff. You've been watching us for a long time on how to run a school.
Yes, sir.
And there's some stuff that we don't hit out of the park. I still don't hit it out of the park sometimes. You know what I mean? It's a hard it's a hard thing being, but I won't waver on. Here's the thing. It's hard to make the right decisions sometimes, but I will not waver on what compromise my values, I guess, what I'm more like on what I'm saying, right? This is the values I have. This is why I'm not, Michael's a little bit better at, hey, that was great. And this is stuff. And this is somewhere that I lack myself personally, right? I'm not a big pat on the back guy all the time. You know what I mean? I'm on your, you know me, I'm on your ass pretty much all the time. And because that's how I respond. That's how my jujitsu coach, oh man, he's whooping my ass every freaking week, bro. And, and I just like it. I thrive on that. That's how I thrive. Now, not everybody's like me, okay? And I get that. And when it comes to females, there's a little bit, you have to have some kind of, separation on so they don't feel uncomfortable on the mat because because of trauma and stuff like that. So let's talk about now. Let me ask you this: did you have any bullying yourself coming up, or was that not prevalent in your life? And how are you dealing with that with your youngsters in for yourself?
I definitely had issues with kids trying to pick on me, but it was never, at least most of the time, it wasn't physical altercations. Of course, there were some outliers here and there, but I never felt like I was physically unsafe in any situation. And I guess like, the confidence that martial arts brings you really does a lot more than I think most people give it credit for. The way you carry yourself can be the difference in somebody targeting you as a victim, and not doing that, right? So I think that being able to carry myself a certain way kind of prevented me from giving into situations where I would have been physically threatened by other people. But I've only had to use my martial arts outside of the school 2 or 3 times, and it was never a situation where I felt uncomfortable. And I feel like the most of the issues I had when I was coming up was verbal, and I usually started them most of the time, so it wasn't me getting bullied.
Yeah, well, that's definitely that definitely is. I've heard that quite a bit, as a matter of fact. So tell me about your students. How many come in saying that? Hey, how many coming in saying they're bullied, or how many do you think are? And I'm going to give you a little story about what just happened in our school. Give me some examples of what the normal student at your school is coming in. Are they looking at bullying? Do they have lack self-confidence? Are the parents what? Tell me what's going on in your school.
So, the school system in Bryan County is actually they're pretty good. We've had a lot more bullying issues in our Statesboro school than I have in Richmond Hill, but
Hmm.
the issues that we've had in Richmond Hill get taken a little bit farther sometimes, like they're almost ongoing. So there has been certain situations where they've had issues with the same kid over and over and over again, and I always try to get them to avoid the fight for obvious reasons. I don't want them to, get in trouble and get kicked out of school. But at a certain point, you can't just you can't just run away from it. And I feel like that line is hard to find for anyone in that situation. But at the end of the day, if you feel threatened, if you feel like you're in danger, you have a right to protect yourself, regardless of what the school is going to do, regardless of what the other person's parents are going to think. And I feel like most parents that have a good head on their shoulders want their kids to come home safe instead of worrying about if they're going to get in trouble, if they're really in a dangerous situation. And I've never had any issues where I felt like my students couldn't get past it. Most of the issues that have happened to the students in my school, they dealt with maybe in one situation and it was resolved after that. But I think that most of the time, what I've noticed in even students that have trained a long time is they don't want to engage even if they are put in that situation. I have one student specifically. He was being bullied over and over again by this kid at school, and he would not do anything about it because he didn't want to hurt the kid. He knew that he could defend himself and stop him, but he felt like he was going to hurt the kid, and that was doing wrong. So it's interesting to see how the kids and even the younger adults think about stuff like that. But I've never had a student come to me feeling like they got into an altercation and they felt like they couldn't defend themselves. And I really
Mm.
think that how you enter that situation, your mindset going into it is a big part of it. So I drill that in from day one. How you should be carrying yourself regardless of if you're in danger or not. You know, you need to be aware at all times. You need to respond a certain way under pressure. And we all have a natural inclination to freeze or run away when things get tough. But I feel like you have to fight against that if you're really going to overcome whatever the pressure is, whatever the situation is. If somebody's bullying you.
That's good. Yeah, I'm smiling because I'm listening. I'm listening to you, and I can hear what you've heard over the mat for so long. You know, your leadership skills are definitely on point for sure.
Thanks, sir.
The reason I ask about this, Dan, because even today, yeah, and I'm sure now being a school owner, you feel like, gosh, I wish I could just be there for them. Just let me walk campus with you one time, and you watch what happens, right? I've This has happened to me countless times, and I've been to a campus too. I've done exactly what I'm talking about, where he's so, and I take him on campus. I'm tattooed up, and I'm big dude, and I'm walking him into school, and that gives him the confidence to have his head up high. Then that's what I've done. I've done that several times, as a matter of fact. It's kind of like bikers, taking the bullied kid to school, and walking him in. The same thing, right? But I just had this on the mat last week, and we had a he's 15. And I can tell he's just heads down a little bit, and he's probably not in the shape that he really wants to be. And his head's down, and he's trying hard in class, and he doesn't talk a lot, but he's trying to put his head down and working. And afterwards, I very much talk about what it looks like to have some confidence in yourself, and how to walk, and how to carry your weight. Don't put your hands in your pocket. Don't look down. Losers look down, winners look up. You know what I mean? Keep your head up. Keep your head on a swivel. Look around. Okay. And smile when you need to smile, and don't smile when you don't need to smile. Let people know that, you're here, and your voice and your self-image is something to be reckoned with. And I'm going to be polite when I'm going to be polite. And if you're going to go to another direction, I'm not going to be that as polite. And I watched this young kid listen to me speak, and I'm talking about how to hold your head up high, be proud of yourself, and don't let what others, say. And I've told him my story. I was told, I don't know how many times, that I would never have a school. I don't have the temperament to have a school. I was told this when I first opened up my school. And it just drove me to make sure that I do it. And it drove me so much that I said, not only am I going to have a school, everybody that doubted me are going to come to me for advice one day. And that's exactly what happened. But afterwards, he spoke to one of my other instructors. He was speaking to, I want to see if it was Dickie or even Mikey, one of the two. And he just said everything he said. I do exactly that. I walk around, my hands in my pocket. My face is down. And it's just, I'm trying to hide. So I just don't, I don't bring any more upon myself than I'm already having to handle. And it's so hard to hear, right? High school was a brutal thing. My kids all hated high school. I wasn't a big high school fan myself, even though I played football and stuff like that. But it was, so listening to them speak, and this is just something that they don't have. How many teenagers do you have in your school right now? This is something I'm trying to push to get people, to get our young teenagers, the 12 to 15 and stuff, into a school. How many of these guys you have in your school, and are you making any difference in it, whether it's Statesboro or the other one, Richmond Hill?
Mm-hmm. We have a good bit of teenagers. I think, it's interesting. Usually what I would expect is most people that are, at least 15, 16 years old would want to go into the Krav Maga program or something similar. So it's like straightforward self-defense. They don't have to learn the art. But, what I've noticed is that these younger kids, they really pour themselves into martial arts in a different way. And I don't know if it's just the state that they're at, where they need that kind of structure. But I have one kid specifically in my Richmond Hill school, and he came to me, and he already knew, first day in the door, that he wanted to be an MMA fighter. He's one of those that has been training at his house on his own, learning from videos, and just 100% in from day one. And I see that more in the teenagers than I do from any other age group.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if it's just because they have all that excess energy, and once it gets directed to something, they're all in. But I've noticed that the teenagers they get more from it than even the adults do sometimes. I think that in that stage of your life, that's when you're like the most unconfident in yourself, and you're the most confused and distracted by everything going on. So I feel like it's a really good place to channel all of that, and I think it benefited me when I was a teenager to not let my head take over. I had so many of my friends that had issues with depression and anxiety, and just dealing with the everyday stresses of life. But I feel like when you have the stressor of getting hit in the face, some of those things don't seem quite as daunting. And I think that's it's a really valuable part of martial arts.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, I've enjoyed listening to what you talk about here as far as well-rounded. You're going to be able to have well-rounded students when you keep the same mindset that you have. So we talked about dad a lot, but I want to talk about mom a little bit. And I'm close to your mom, and I love I've always loved training her, and she's a Chatsworth black belt. Let's
Right.
just
Yes,
make
sir.
sure she's a Chatsworth master. I'm going to make sure Clay Pierson knows that. So I want to know what the difference is. What did you see in mom? Your mom's always been kind of a silent warrior, and I don't even know if people really know that she got a black belt in Krav Maga on top of her master's ranks in her Tang Soo Do, and then I believe she's holding rank now. I don't know where she's at in it, but where her ranking in her Eskrima sticks. She has a love for that, and I remember first teaching her sticks because I've always had a kind of a love for it, but she took it to the next level. And so I was wondering what did you get from your mom in the martial arts?
Well, I obviously got the combat side from my father, but the art side I got from my mother, and just seeing, watching her do the forms and weapons, and seeing like the beauty in martial arts, and how you can into it in a different way instead of just being go 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 intensity. There's almost like I almost see weapons and kata as like a moving meditation. You're training your body and your mind at the same time, and she definitely it embodied, I would say, like the softer side of martial arts for me, and helped me to enjoy learning and picking up new weapons and new arts. Because she was always the one that was going out and seeking, information from other places. Whether it was cane or stick, she would find a specific focus of interest and then pull it into our school, pull it into our system. And of course, it was because she wanted to learn it. But I think that she helped us be a lot more well-rounded in that sense. And she's the one out of all of us that has the most black belts. I think she has a black belt in Krav Maga. She has a black belt in Kyusho Jitsu. She has a black belt in Tang Soo Do, and then she has her black belt in the modern Arnis. So she has 4 different black belts, and more than anybody else in my family. And it's not because she's hungry for the achievement of it. She just genuinely loves the learning process. So she's definitely communicated that to me, and it's really cool to get to do it with her, especially through the Arnis, through the stick art, because I feel like I'm starting over again from white belt level, and my mom's getting to teach me again from white belt level and build me up. And I've always had that experience with my mom, specifically through weapons. She's the one that helped me love weapons and love the beauty in the forms. As a kid, I didn't appreciate it quite the same way, but I almost think it's more valuable now than other basics, just because you get so much from just learning the kata.
Right, exactly true. Yes, I've watched your mom really kind of blossom into her own. And when you say she's achieved more black belts than everybody else, she's a perfect example of somebody that just does the work, and along the stops, you earn belts, right? And you do the work, and you just earn these belts, and then all of a sudden, before you know it, all the work put in gives you another black belt. She never talks about it. She fighting, of course, is her favorite thing on the planet. Not really.
Only if you touch your nose.
I think one of the only funniest ones is when her dad was alive and I was sparring her. I don't know if you remember that, man, but Grandpa was not having it, man. Okay, it was funny. He's not having it, man.
He's ready to get in there himself.
Yeah, he was so pissed off at me, dude. That was funny. But she's been something to watch. You know, I'm super close to Mom. You know, I've always kind of check in on her, but she's also got this spirit about her that is just somebody that just wants to help other people all the time. So tell me what you've learned from her, because she's the one that does most of the teaching, I think, for special needs, right? So tell me what you learned from her in that, and do you follow that at all in your own school for special needs?
You know, we don't have a special needs program in our Richmond Hill school. It's usually on a student by student basis. But you know, my mom has definitely shown me through working with special kicks programs that no matter where you're at, you're capable of growth and capable of learning in martial arts. And it doesn't matter if you can throw a kick the same way as somebody else. It doesn't matter if you're quite as strong as the guy next to you on the mat. I think that there's something there for everyone. And what I've noticed is that the kids in the special kicks programs, they get so much from it. You know, it benefits their life in a different way. And I think that you know, she's definitely put in me the desire to do that in other people's lives, because you know, seeing, you know, her working with Ethan or some of these other kids in the school, all of these kids deserve a chance to really achieve what they're capable of. And you know, whether it's school telling them that they can't do it, or whether it's the doctor telling them they can't do it, you need you need a way to get past that, right? You gotta break out of that mindset, because you can set those limitations around yourself and follow them, but you're never going to be happy doing that. And I think when you're pushed to really see what you're capable of, whether it's mentally or physically, I think that it just helps you as grow as a person. And with the special kicks program, I really feel like sometimes the martial arts school is the only place they get that. And I think, you know, we have a responsibility to give them the opportunity to grow.
She does, and she took that head on. You know, she went to Carson because, you know, of course, he's the autistic whisperer. You know what I mean? His ability to work with the disabled is just, I don't know, it's just something special to see. And I know that when she went down to see him and learn from him special kicks and what that looks like, she just took that to the next level herself. You know, she has a unconditional love for other people, and her love for other people and her love for martial arts, and then it's combined to watch like Ethan do his thing was just, I mean, that was awesome. I mean, it was just fun to watch. And I think that if you got the best of both worlds there, you know, I think you have a little bit of your mom in you, and you got the intensity from dad, and it's just been a wonderful thing to watch how both your parents have, you know, taken you up into a good young guy that's developing other people, other skills, other leaders. And so I wanted to make sure we put some time into talking about mom a little bit, because
Yes, sir.
She's just one of those ones that are in the background doing her thing. I remember teaching her how to do the videos for black belt testing, and
Yep.
you know what I mean? And she'd spend all that time with doing it. And she's like, why did I ever ask you to teach me this? I said, I totally get it. You know what I mean? What's TJ saying? He says, this topic really touched my heart. I have a severely disabled special needs daughter. That mom I call Daniel's mom as well has taken a major shine to you. You can definitely see the love she has for special children. That's true. There's no way that you don't see that with your mom. So let's talk about some other interests that you have. We talked about your leadership in your martial arts and stuff like that. So say, what else do you have in the background? You know, people think that we live and breathe only martial arts. And I tell everybody, I said, you'd be surprised to know that I played guitar for many years, and that's what that was my outlet for a long time. I played racquetball competitively and stuff like that. So give me some other stuff that Daniel does that other than the martial arts. What else? Why don't you give people? I think you sing the same type of music my son sang, right? Your headbang.
Yes, sir. So I guess something that I've noticed is everybody with or at least in my opinion, everybody with the personality type to go on the mat and teach and really throw themselves into martial arts has a little bit of an obsessive personality. So I find things that I'm new to that I don't know, and I pour myself into it and try to learn it. So whether it's through music or whether it's a specific information about a certain topic, I find myself hyper focused on things. I have to have something that I can study intensely, no matter what's going on. And music has definitely been one of my biggest passions outside of martial arts. I love playing music. I love listening to music. And I haven't played since COVID. I haven't been playing anywhere except for a church. And I think that it's definitely been something that I've missed. But I have many other interests as well. I've traded foreign exchange currency market. I'm really into cryptocurrency and NFTs and the technology that they're building. And I just love I love learning and building myself, no matter what the subject is. So I'll find some interesting fact about a specific country, and I'll go study that for hours and hours. Just because I want to learn more about it. So I think that martial arts has been that for me for my entire life, that outlet that I get to pour myself into. But I don't know. I feel like I have to take advantage of all of the information around us and be able to build myself in different areas as well. So whether it's educating myself about politics, I just enjoy like growing my mind and reading about new stuff.
I knew that it is weird that it's funny how martial artists are there's a lot of martial artists that are kind of drawn to music anyway. You know what I mean? Not sure why that is. It's just one of those things that music and martial arts kind of gel. It doesn't surprise me. I know one of my Krav Maga black belts. I'm not sure if you guys know this. He's the keyboard player for Earth, Wind, and Fire, and and he's a great black belt. So he's here. When he's not on tour, he's always here. And it's not surprising to me. And when I ask, I don't know if even John Whitman, one of our instructors, he plays the banjo, believe it or not. And it's just one of those things that martial artists have for some reason. But you touched on something, and I think this is what we'll end with, which is really good because I want young people to know something. I know that you got into listening to a lot of podcasting. Look at this. Look at who's watching.
Hi, Shondell.
What I want to hear, what we want to hit last is this. Okay, let me tell you what I feel that everybody, and I speak this all the time. So you're going to listen to me on this too. You'll probably agree, but I believe that anytime you do something in life, you need a good coach. All right, coaching in whatever it is, right? So when we grew up, right, if we were going to be a wrestler in high school or whatever we're going to do, we get a professional wrestling coach, or we get private lessons in martial arts, or we get guitar lessons, and we have coaching and all that kind of stuff. But let me tell you what an entrepreneurs and what school never taught anybody is how money works and how to build yourself. Because I know that you've watched your father, just like my son's watched me. Now, we've been able to make money, but we've never been able to grow money because we didn't have a coach. I didn't have a financial coach. So listen to you talk about crypto and how to think about, building wealth outside the martial arts school. You run a business, and part of that is how to save, how not to overspend, and how to have a future. Are you guys in the midst of that? Because I know that Michael has watched. I have hounded him saying that, listen, if I would have just put 150, there was times that I had brand new cars at the tune of $1,200 a month in payments on a you can't, they're not even assets. They're just a depreciating whatever.
Yes, sir.
And so all that money that I wasted over the years on having a brand new car, thinking I'm driving a Jaguar and think I'm all that in a bag of chips, and nobody really cares, right? Nobody cares what I was driving, and nobody even remembers what I was driving. I hardly remember. And I didn't take that money and invest in my future, because if I did today at my age, I'd be in a whole different ball game. Now, it doesn't mean I haven't made some other decisions or things come along, but let's talk about what you're doing as a young guy, and how do you speak to other young people like yourself that doesn't have a 9 to 5, so you don't have a 401k unless you made one yourself, right? You don't have an IRA unless you go and make one. What are you doing now that you have an entrepreneur, and where do you find financial coaches? Because I know that, I think I'm not sure if it's you or your brother that is also kind of likes to dabble in the stock market a little bit.
Yes, sir. It took me a while to get my head above water with the world of finance. There's a lot to take in, a lot of information. And for me, when I was growing up, in school, I never learned about investing. I think we probably learned about the stock market and played a stock market game one time, but that was about it. I never learned how to balance a checkbook, or how to keep track of my finances. And so that was something that I had to really teach myself. And investing to me didn't make sense at first. Finding stocks in the market, it just looked like gambling to me. And in a sense, the market is somewhat structured gambling. And so you do have to understand the relationship of risk versus reward when you're making investments. There's a lot of things that you can invest in that are stable. Buying shares of the Dow Jones index, historically over time has been the most stable investment. And there's things like, I'm passionate about cryptocurrency because I feel like it's a game changing technology. But if you bought Bitcoin even 3 years ago, then even now, while the crypto market is in a downturn period, you're in profit. So I think that I looked at investment before, when I was younger at least, as just somewhere to put your money and save it. But I quickly came to understand, when I started doing my own research and looking for coaches, that you're finding ways to make your money work for you. And if your money is just sitting in a savings account, let's say I'm 26 years old, right? If I have $50,000 sitting in a savings account and I leave it there for 10 years, that's still $50,000 at the end of that 10-year period. But the value of the money has gone down, right? Because inflation's higher, cost is higher. So you're essentially losing money just putting it in savings and letting it sit there. And that's when I realized that, the risk that you take in the stock market, regardless of if you're making riskier investments in specific stocks, or you're investing in other avenues like cryptocurrency, or even trading it yourself and day trading. I feel like you almost owe yourself the opportunity to grow your finances instead of just letting it sit there, because if not, it's just wasting away. And I kind of feel like money, in a sense, doesn't it's not meant to just sit there and be piled up. It likes to be moved around, right? So I feel like when your focus goes to making your money work for you, you'll start to be presented with opportunities. I feel like God brings opportunities into your life when you really make it a priority. And for myself, I paid for coaching to learn how to trade from multiple different places. And I've been trading forex now for about 4 years, and took me probably 2.5, 3 years to get consistently profitable, where I wasn't just losing all my money. But I learned, and just like in martial arts, you start at the bottom. I started in a fake account, and I just practiced, and I practiced every single day consistently. And eventually that consistency does start to pay off a little bit. So I think, I was fortunate being so young, getting interested in finance, that I could take a little bit more risk in what I was investing into. But I think, whatever you invest in, you have to understand that money is being used for that purpose. You can't take it out if you need expenses met. And that's really the thing that I had the hardest time with. And I still do, being able to keep everything flowing and stable at the same time while you're running a business is difficult. And I felt like I couldn't I couldn't have done it with just my business and been as comfortable as I wanted to. So I had to find other ways to help myself at least make money that I could store and save and not use for business expenses or not use for travel or whatever, but use it to grow for my future. And I think the statistic that I hear is if you're 22 years old, 23 years old, and you take $50,000 and put it into a account that is basically investing in the entire stock market, then you can just let it sit there. And by the time you're 60, it's going to turn into $1 million. And you don't have to do anything. It's just passive. That doesn't mean that it's going to grow overnight, but you keep investing into it. You keep you have a set amount every month that you invest into it, and you just do it consistently. And everything compounds. Compounding is one of the great wonders of the world. Once you build profit from an investment, if you can put it back into that investment and you trust it, then you're just gonna grow how much that investment brings in. But I think right now it's tricky because the economy is in such a tough position, and I think everybody's trying to sell and get liquidity wherever they can. But you really have to understand that, like, during recession, during downturns, that's when people make money by buying things and holding them for the future, because regardless of where the stock market is right now or cryptocurrency is right now, you have to look to 10, 15, 20 years in the future if you're making an investment and you're not just trying to make quick cash.
Mm-hmm. Excellent advice. And I think that's that's why I wanted to end on that, because I know that you've even helped your own dad in this stuff. This is where you guys have kind of given back to something that we lacked in. And this is all part of martial arts, just so you know, in self-defense. Self-defense just isn't just about punching and kicking. It's about having your finances in order, having an order to your life and what it looks like. I think that's what martial arts is in general. It's not just a punch and kick, right? And so I think that it's fun to watch you guys, because you're martial artists, guys. You're, as far as your martial arts goes, you're off the chain. And one of the reasons is because you've got to get our 40 years of experience, and I've got to push all that into Michael, right? So remember, I was just doing Tang Soo Do, and it took me how many years to do it? And then I went to Hapkido, and it took me another so many years to do that. And then, then Jiu-Jitsu and Krav Maga, 20 years into Krav Maga. Well, you guys get all these years, this 40 years I get to put into you from all the stuff that I've already done. So naturally, you guys are going to be way better than we were. Right. It doesn't surprise me that you're going to be far superior martial artists, because we've got to go and just imagine what your students are going to be, because you're going to get to the stuff that you're learning in your cycle, and you get to add or subtract or do whatever you're going to do. But then the second component is, self-esteem, self-worth. Do you prepare for the future? This is all self-defense related. Okay. It's not, because when we get hit in the face, the physical thing, we can get through that. Our bloody lip and some stitches will become taken out. But if you get hit with a pandemic and you don't have anything in the gas tank, then your life is upside down, and then you really are weathering a storm. That stuff is hard, really hard to contend with or think about. So I think I would encourage you to build that into what you do. You speak about that hey guys, listen, I know I'm young and I don't have a family yet, but there's more to self-defense than just punching and kicking. Make sure you have your finances in way. Make sure your relationships are on point. This is all about what a martial arts school can bring to the table. Super proud of listening to everything you had to say today. It was a good segue. It was good for me to hear what you got out of it, things that you've taken from what we've given you over the years, and looking forward to seeing what it looks like as you progress in your life, because you got another stages that are coming, and knowing that you have a close relationship with your dad and your mom. You've lost some really good other mentors. You've had to deal with loss. Loss sucks, dude. There's nothing good about it. Even every time I come to your school, it's it's a hard feeling sitting at black belt testings, you know, not having Jack sitting next to me making fun of your dad. I miss that. Or Tony coming in late where I can, you know, give him a hard time. Uh, these relationships that I've got to be part of the family out there has been it's been priceless. It's been good. So I've enjoyed having this time with you. I hope you enjoyed the same thing, man.
Yeah, I had a blast today talking to you, and you know, I just wanted to say I'm thankful for all your input in my life and in the art, and you know, we wouldn't be here without you, sir. And we've had a lot of great instructors influence us, but you know, you're the one that started it all for us, and so we just got to give you credit for that. We gotta give you the right amount of love for it, sir, because we wouldn't be here without you.
Yeah, I appreciate that, guys, and you've taken it to a good level. It looks when one of Humphrey's kids are on. And listen, I loved your dad, by the way. Him and I had such a fun time. We miss him so much. Last time I was there, it felt so empty not to have him next to me because I would cut up with him so much. We just had a really fun time. As a matter of fact, I think we were. I don't know. Last time, I think we were making fun of your dad. As a matter of fact, I don't know. We were. You know, I'm sure we were doing that, but
I knew Tony for pretty much my entire life. He was always around ever since the days in Brooklyn. He was great inspiration, great role model. So CJ, you had a great father, man. I'm appreciative that he was part of our lives.
Yeah. We've definitely experienced some of the sadness part of it. That's the other thing about martial arts. I tell everybody, man, you're so impacted into everybody else's life that all of a sudden there's funerals, and then there's like this is how. Matter of fact, this is how I came to your mom and dad because they lost baby, and the school just kind of they lost your brother. I remember that was like yesterday, man. You're just devastated, right? And then the martial arts school just kind of comes and wraps her arms around you, and away we go. And then look what it's produced today. I mean, it's just kind of awesome when you sit back and really look at it. When you're in the midst of everything, you really never know what you're growing to the outside, but it's been good, man. I've enjoyed my hour with you, man. I'm going to let you go because I got a busy day. And by the way, guys, if you're listening to this, if you go to my website at markcox.com, you'll get the audio portions of this. I'll do the editing a little bit later today. It'll be up on my audio portion, so people they can go to the if you go to @Real Talk with Mark Cox on YouTube, all these videos are on YouTube also. And if you would, anybody that goes to YouTube, if you can get your guys to subscribe for me, that would be great. If you guys subscribe to the audio talks from Spotify or Apple Podcasts or whatever you guys use, whenever we get, it's weird algorithm, they don't go by how many downloads you get. They go by how many subscribers you have. The more subscribers you have, the better your cast is, and so I encourage you guys, if you're listening and enjoyed it, we had quite a few listeners. We had no less than 25, 30 people listening at it today. I've been watching the numbers, so it's been good. So if you guys would go, subscribe if you would. You can go. I'll have the audio up today, and then you can share it with all your family and friends. If your mom's listening, I'm sure she's listening today. She hasn't chimed in because she doesn't like being talked about. Because if she does chime in, I'm going to talk about her some more. But I'm pretty sure that's why. Your dad's off in Germany, so I don't even know what time it is out there. But
I think it's about 6
if he's
o'clock.
not listening if he's not. Yeah, because if he's not listening, I'm gonna tell him this is only your son live, and I don't care what time it is. I'm gonna give it to him. So,
Of course,
all right, man. This is what I do, man. All right, man. I'll let you go, dude. Have an awesome day, and we'll talk some more.
All right, thanks, sir.
All right.
Much love to you and your family.
All right, see you, Daniel.